busy worrying about their answer back to you that they don't get the question.
That's
So,
true.
then you're misunderstood, and then you're labeled.
Well, not only that, but then nobody's learning from each other.
Exactly.
You know, so, okay, so we do live in a county that's predominantly conservative. So I assume that not, you know, maybe some people will cringe when I say this, but most won't, but I'm gonna say it anyway. So I have been observing like crazy, and I'm a people reader, it's what I do. And so in 2015, when Trump was running for office, I didn't like him, because I didn't like any TD people, I didn't like any of the people that are, you know, in power, because they all like have their agenda, so I already knew I didn't like them, but then I listened. And then I was fascinated. Oh man, people reading that guy for years was a lot of fun. But something that a lot of people missed was what a problem solver he is. So I learned a lot about that.
I learned about that one night at 8 o'clock, when I was totally by myself, had nothing to do, sitting in a chair, watching The Apprentice.
Oh yeah, see, I didn't
saw
watch
the
that.
man that he was fair. He was
Well,
fair.
so then when we had conflicts with other countries that we were supposed to hate,
Right.
he'd go in and say, okay, you have something you need to feel good and happy and warm and fuzzy, and I have something I need to feel good and happy and warm and fuzzy, and let's figure out how we can make both of those things happen.
Exactly.
Instead of one person winning over the other person, both people get heard as human beings who have needs, you know? And so that's important, and that's what I'm hoping that the town hall meeting does. Because right now, okay, let me go ahead and open it. So hi everybody, welcome to the town hall meeting. This is the third town hall meeting, okay? And we have a bit of the same stuff going on that we had last month. We're still gonna be going over, we've got the school board election and the East Lost election coming up. I guess early voting has already started. What else? I don't have my notes.
Multi-family housing.
Oh, multifamily housing, that's right, and then also short-term rentals. Oh, it's on my
Yes.
phone what they said. Oh, bummer. Yes, short-term rentals. Okay, so those are the three things that we're gonna go over for sure, and then anything else that anybody else wants to add and talk about, we're gonna do that also, because everybody in this room has a little bit of information that everybody needs, right? Okay, so with the warm and fuzzy, what I was saying, I've been thinking about that a lot. For me personally, the East Lost debate has been very difficult. Because what I see is people are saying, we don't need more taxes, everything's really hard right now, and then other people are saying, well, we need our children to be taken care of, how could you not care about the children? And the thing is that both of those things do not have to be, they don't have to exclude one another. And I feel like with a lot of the things, and you know, this is what I've done for the last year, is I go around and I ask questions of everybody. I mean, I stop people at the produce section and just start asking them questions. I do that all the time. It's what I do. And to hear what everybody's having to say. And there is a good reason for people to feel distrustful of what's been going on with our taxes. There have been a lot of things that have come up with, I guess, so for those that don't know, an East Lost is, I think I'm gonna get this right, an education, special purpose, hold on, SPLOST, special purpose, no, okay.
Yeah.
Local option sales
Yeah.
tax,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, it's a tax, it's a sales tax, okay? And so what we know about that is it's a special purpose, means that there are very strict guidelines that they have for using those taxes. And correct me if I'm wrong, okay? I'm just putting together everything that I've gotten together at this point. The thing is there's very strict guidelines how they can use that. However, what they tell us they're gonna use it for and what they actually use it for don't have to be the same thing. And that's where we have gotten into a lot of frustration with the T-SPLOST. That's why T-SPLOST didn't pass, is because people were starting to figure that out. Hey, you keep saying you want this to happen and we keep voting yes, and then you keep not doing it, and then you keep using it it's emotional baiting to get us to pay for this tax, but then you don't do that project and you use it for emotional bait at the next one. Now, That's why people are stressed out, that and because, you guys, I went to, what got me started on all this is I went to the property tax meeting last summer. It was because they were raising the property taxes, right? That's what that was about.
Yes.
That was my first meeting, I had no idea what was going on. But what I did know is that that room was packed. They had to put it in a special room, and even then it was standing room only. I was standing in the back, it was packed. And those people weren't there because they were troublemakers. They weren't there because they wanted to be mean to the commissioner, they were there because they were scared.
Right.
I mean, you could feel that, there was desperation. And every time they talked, and you could tell they were scared, from what I watched, the commissioner would kind of, how can you be mean? How can you act that way when look at everything that our taxes are paying for? And then he'd start listing off all the projects. And yes, those projects are wonderful. I love Meeks Park. I love the farmer's market. But there was no listening. You know, there was no listening to the fears of those people, and now that's built up for over a year at least. So that trust isn't there because they're not being heard. And it would be really nice if there was a way for us to hear both people and understand both sides, because we do need to fund our children at the same time. Does anyone, and forgive me for rambling, because this is like, I go and I collect information, and I try to bring it all together into a cohesive unit, okay? Because this back and forth, red and blue, and this and that is all fake. It's not real. We are citizens of this county, and while we don't have control over the nation so much, we have control over this county. We have a county that we can actually stand up and make a change in. And then if we do that here, we can empower the neighboring counties that we all talk. Yes.
If you're gonna build a structure, you have to start with a good foundation. Otherwise, everything above it is garbage.
Do you know what the foundation is here? We the people.
Exactly.
And our systems have run amok because we haven't been paying attention. And we were told that talking about politics is rude and all of these things. And then what happens is the people that are in service to self get to go haywire with it because they're the only ones that know what's going on. But we have things where, I don't see the gentleman in the room, but one of our citizens was going over the voter registration, and he found roughly, was it 1,700 names on our voter registration that were either deceased, fake address, something like that. They moved away. That's a lot of people. T-Sploss was like, both T-Sploss votes was like a handful of people showed up to vote. If some nefarious people knew that we had 1,700 extra names on there that weren't legitimate, I mean, that's about how many people show up for a vote around here, right? So that is like oversight that hasn't been happening, and that's with the registrar's office, and I feel bad saying that because I really like those ladies in that office. They have a very well organized room full of amazing things. They have all the newspapers, they have all of the documents of birth certificates and death certificates of all the history of this place, and I really wanna go hang out in that room because I'm a nerd like that. But that's still their responsibility, and we're waiting to hear back from them about what happened and what can be done about that list of names.
You mean cleaning it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, so the gentleman that discovered that sent him an email a few days ago and hasn't heard back yet.
Okay.
So we're still waiting to hear back from that. Then, you know, we just had these called meetings for the, what was it, the business, the Development Financing Corporation? Okay, so my memory's working a little bit, okay. So that, if you don't know what that was about, that's because a gentleman discovered that, how was it, 10, 20 years ago? Was it 20 years ago?
No, it was, you mean that he purchased the property? Yeah, it was 20 years ago that it was purchased.
2001, a property was purchased, and it was kept in, not the commissioner's name, but under the commissioner's title.
An
Okay.
LLC of his.
And an LLC, and it was supposed to be given to the people, because we paid for it with our tax money, but it just got forgotten for 20 years.
11 years.
11 years, sorry, because it was after it got paid off, it was supposed to go back into our names as the people, and it never did. And so a citizen noticed that and put in a lawsuit, I believe, yeah, a lawsuit, and then they just discovered, oh, And then they created this financing corporation to fix it, and they say it has nothing to do with his lawsuit. They just, when he filed the lawsuit, they noticed that, yes,
It
this
was
has-
just an oversight.
just an oversight is the word they used, okay? So there are oversights all over the place. And the reason why that's happening, maybe it's not for nefarious reasons, but it's because we haven't been paying attention. We haven't been showing up, we haven't been paying attention. We haven't been talking amongst ourselves, and if you only go to the GOP meeting to talk to people, you're missing out because that divide isn't real. And also, there are agendas in there also, you know, that are not just we the people. So we need to remember that that's who we are, and that's what we are in this county. Okay, so that's my soapbox. Yes?
That meeting, did anyone else get the feeling that I had, that after we sat there and talked and heard all this stuff, you know?
At the Finance Corporation meeting?
Yes, but when it came to the vote, he said, okay, now, are we for this to keep the committee or not? That statement that was made after that was written up ahead of time by one of the people that was selected to be on the board, who Lamar, the sole commissioner, said, I didn't appoint these
Yes,
people.
he did.
But they were people that were picked from his staff. She had that made up. Bang, passed. We
Right.
never got to say,
No, the
Yes,
people
it
did
was-
say very, very boldly what they felt, right? They all said, no, we don't want it,
Yeah,
but,
but the board is the ones that decide that.
right,
The three people on the board, and
they
he
had
did,
that decided already.
yeah, well, they
That's
were
their job.
obviously gonna vote to keep it open,
right.
and he did appoint them, so I don't care what he said, he appointed them.
Now, I remember at a commissioner meeting that was actually on the agenda, that he approved them or he appointed them? It was on the meeting minutes. Yeah,
He appointed them.
They kept saying they were asked to do it.
Okay,
They-
asked, appointed,
right.
Yes, but they appointed saying that it
Yeah.
wasn't their idea, but because they're so devoted to this community and all that, they wanted to be on it. And then that girl that made the final statement, she's like an attorney, you could tell she had that type of speech.
she is on the.
They
The
knew
one that
that-
talked for a while about the
It's
negativity.
Robbie Como.
Yeah,
Okay.
they already had that statement and bang, I mean, that went in like 1 minute.
Right,
And I don't know Robert's rules, but I was told to make a sign yes or no, and then I understood that we were gonna be asked, all in favor, raise their hand, something like that, nothing.
yeah.
I
No.
think the sign thing was just so that the public had a voice to say, no, we don't want it to stay open. It was just to make the statement,
well,
but
that's
it
fine,
wasn't, we didn't really have that
They-
say of what was gonna happen.
Yeah, that
No,
room
they
was
did not.
packed considering the limited amount of chairs, and pretty much everyone was a no, not everybody, but most everybody was a no, and they approved it, so I guess that is a sign of how much power we have as the people right now.
We have none.
Well, we do have power though, because, look how fast the mask mandate at the courthouse got overturned.
Yes.
That was powerful.
Hey, I read a lot, I read the Constitution.
I know, I was so excited.
I learned about, separation of powers. I learned a lot about open meetings laws. And I learned a lot, and all I had to do was say the things out loud, and then boom, it was done.
Yeah.
Coming together as a people though is really powerful,
If we use it, we
Yeah.
gotta use
if
it.
we use it. Now, it's been really nice to see that the commissioner meetings have been packed. I'll tell you, for those of you that weren't going before, it was like 8, 10 people.
Yeah.
And that was just what I saw when I started going and you were going, and that's how we all met, was because we just showed up and it was this handful of people in a room, and now it's a packed room, and that is a really cool thing to see. Because they can't, let things slide by anymore. We gotta really pay attention to those meeting minutes and make sure that they're not being falsified anymore. But I think since that got caught, it probably won't be anymore. So, okay, right, we'll see. Well, yeah, we need to be paying attention to everything. So what's really been frustrating for me is seeing, really, really good people have 2 different opinions and then like fighting each other instead of hearing each other. This East loss has been really frustrating for me personally. I'm a teacher, I love children, and I really wish that I could send my son to public school. The only reason I don't is because I have strong feelings about forcing waking up before the sun and like rushing out the door. I feel like that's not healthy, so that's why we don't. I know we have a really great school system here. I met some of the kids today when I was teaching my piano class in here, and they were sharp and they knew all kinds of stuff. I was really impressed. So that's something, but then does anyone in here have history and remember if this, I think it's the elementary school building they wanna build, right? Is that right? Does anyone remember if that was on the last agenda of the last E-Lost?
No.
It wasn't?
You
Okay,
mean the East Lost we're in right now?
yeah.
No.
It wasn't?
No.
Okay, because people are saying that it was, and why didn't you build the building before when you said you were gonna build it and instead you built a gym? Does that sound familiar to anyone?
No, because the money difference is that, okay, so they're saying the new school's gonna be 29 to 30 million, the gym was 7. It was
Okay.
supposed to be 4, and it ended up being 7. But that money difference is way off, so I don't know how they could have done that in the East Lost we're in right now.
Okay, that's good to hear, because
Because the
that
East
was,
Lost, okay, the East Lost we're in now is 21 million. The one that is gonna be on the ballot in a couple weeks, or is it on the ballot right now, because we started voting on May 2nd, is, 42 million. It's double, and the reason it's double is because of the school.
They want that school building.
Because the school, they said, is gonna be 29 to 30 million.
has anyone been in the elementary school that they have now? Does anyone in here know?
I didn't know you were
Yeah.
allowed in.
Well,
No, when I moved here, the mothers told me that they had to drop their children off and they could not go in that school. And I've been wanting to break the door down ever since, but I haven't.
don't tell you no, huh?
I think if you made it,
You've been in.
I've been in.
Does it look like it's run down and they need a bigger place?
Well, it is old.
Yeah.
It is old. I mean, I kind of have low standards, I guess,
Yeah.
maybe. I guess just to perhaps give you a comparison, the elementary schools in Fannin County are much older and they're still operational.
Hmm,
I didn't have any issue, like, I didn't walk in and was like, oh my. I
right.
mean, I didn't have, the rooms had bathrooms, you know, for the kids, like in the school room.
Right.
Like they had a bathroom.
In each classroom?
The ones that my son had, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Okay.
thought that was kind of nice. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I'm new to the area, but I can tell you that my small hometown in Ohio, they had to do a whole assessment with the state to determine whether a school, I don't know if they're gonna tear these down or what they're gonna do, but they had to determine whether the school was outdated and needed replaced. So isn't that somewhere, they can't just say you need a new school because they want a nice new school, don't we have like something in a record somewhere that says the school needs to be replaced because of these things?
Does anyone know about that?
I think you,
I just know that when John talks about it, and correct me because now I can't remember the wording he uses, but he goes back to 19 whatever, I mean, it's like
It's old.
it's old. So in other words, I think that, I don't know, and to be honest, they say build a new school, but I don't know if I thought I heard him at one point say something about renovating, and I'm like, is it renovating or are we actually building a new school?
And there's the issue, because we learned when we were learning about T-Splost, we learned that they can say there's a project and then they don't have to do it, but then they spend all that money on something else. And I'm not saying that has anything to do with the school at all. It's just that there's a lot of distrust and it's for a good reason.
Well, but what is supposed to happen? Okay, so let's take for instance, because I'm not real familiar with the school with East Splost, but as far as the Splost money in the county, when they have, so when he puts out the referendum for us to vote for Splost, he's supposed to list the projects, how much it's gonna cost. We're voting on what he's telling us it's going to be, okay? But what has happened over the years is that what he says he's going to do with the money, once the Splost has passed, that's not always what's being done with the money.
For
And for example,
the
the
jail.
jail renovation, the solid waste transfer. Well, supposedly, and this is what I had said at the meeting, those are considered level 1 projects. they're not to be abandoned.
Right,
Well, what he says now is, well, we didn't abandon those projects, they were canceled.
right.
Well, I don't.
Okay, canceled, abandoned, they didn't do them, but here's the thing.
They were used for emotional, like, blackmail to make us vote
Right, but
yes.
here's the thing, if you wanna go the legal route, what is supposed to happen is if he says in the referendum to pass it, this is what we're gonna do with the money. If they decide they're not gonna do the project that they said, they are supposed to put up another referendum and the people are supposed to vote.
Right,
We are supposed to come back in and vote on that.
right,
And that is the other thing that I had stood up in the county and I said, I don't ever remember a referendum coming up where we said, hey guys, we said we were gonna spend this money on this project and we're not gonna do that. I have never seen anything come up for another vote in this county.
Hey,
Once-
fun fact,
Never.
that's one of the things that he edited out of the December meetings, was that statement that you made about that.
And
Right,
that's
he took
law.
that out
That is the Georgia
and
law.
replaced
You're
it with a
supposed
different
to come
sentence
back with
altogether.
that.
Yep, I
Now,
know,
and it's the same thing for East Lost.
yep.
It's
Except for
the
with
same-
East Lost, then we have children involved, which is like a major heart thing, you know, like it's so easy to, we have to use logic, we have to, but man, those kids, we want the best for them, it's really hard.
Well, if you notice in the paper, one of the items, aside from the school is the biggest item. So on the athletic side of it, they want to build a marching band field and the track and field, I guess, to go around that. So I can tell you, they're recruiting children in middle school to be in a marching band because they don't have a big, there's not a big
There's
marching
not a
band.
need for that. See, this makes me wonder if these projects get priced too high, so that way, like, some
And made up.
corporations, you know, maybe some contractors in the county get, you know, all of the contracts for that, and then they just get to pass that money around. I mean, that's what it looks like. I'm only just saying what my brain is coming up with. I don't know that for a fact.
Well, we get
Ow.
grants too. I mean, it's not just the East Lost money, we get grants also for
So
some of the projects.
does the state match any, so are we getting any state money for any of these projects?
Okay.
I don't understand how they can just arbitrarily say we need a marching band field, we need a new school, but they're not giving you reasons and the state is not involved because it's a public
So
school.
that kind of ties into the short-term rental, in my brain anyway, I like connect the all the dots. So from what I understand, and I wish Wesley was
I
here,
know,
because
he's
man,
supposed to
he's like an encyclopedia of civics history of Union County, that guy. Wow, he's got a lot of information. But I'm gonna try to repeat what I heard from him, is that because we are now pricing so high with property taxes, we are considered a wealthy community.
Yes.
We're out of, yeah.
And so
the
now
state.
our money is going to
Yeah.
other places.
Yes.
So,
So we have to do it all ourselves
but
because we're
why
wealthy.
are
Yeah.
we going so high with property taxes? And that's where people are getting really upset with the short-term rentals. So there has been a Facebook group that just opened, just a handful of days ago called, I think it's the Union County Initiative, for short-term rentals, something like that, okay? If you type in Union County short-term rentals, you'll find the group. It grew like that. I mean, everybody jumped in that group. There are a lot of people that are upset, and if you don't live next door to one, then you wouldn't even know. But that's why you have to talk to people to understand what they're experiencing, what's going on, because they know things that you don't know. So, yes,
Excuse me, when you say short-term, do you mean vacation?
I mean vacation rentals.
Is that like Airbnb?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean, Airbnbs, vacation rentals. So I have, just by looking at that group for a couple of days, I have seen advertisements where, I've seen things where there's this one company, and I can't remember, it's in my phone, so I screen saved it, so I can read all these things, and now my phone's videoing us. So obviously, I connect dots out there, not in here as well. Basically, what I saw is there is this company, there's this corporation, and I really would like to research further who it is, and I can't remember the name of it. So that's a bummer. But this company is coming in and paying, so people are saying, but it makes sense from what I've seen over the last year and a half, 2 years, is they'll come in and pay cash $100,000 over asking price. So that instantly bumps up everything, but it keeps people that are buying a house from being able to buy a house, because you can't get a loan for over asking price. You can't get a loan for over what the value is, you know?
So
you-
they're buying the vacation rentals?
They're buying houses.
Everything.
Houses.
And it's
For
happening everywhere,
100
it's not
yes.
just happening in Union County,
Mhm.
it's happening all over the United States.
$100,000 over asking price, cash,
But are they buying them to turn them into?
to turn them
Yes.
into investment properties for vacation
It's big
rentals.
corporations buying up.
So what you have is corporations jacking up our cost of living, jacking up our appraisals, because they're paying so high, so it's jacking that up, it's making us not get the funding we need for the schools. And it's making us be a place where service to self, investment only for profit, people are having control over our county. They don't even live here. And then we have all these people coming in, and our tourism is really important, but I know, like, you guys, tourists were coming here before we had fancy stuff, because we have Union County and it's gorgeous.
I heard today from a very reputable lady that one of the coaches up at the school went to Alabama for some kind of a meet that he was involved in or wanted to see or something, and he counted 18 signs that say, "Move to Blairsville."
In Alabama?
No, from here to Alabama.
Wow.
18, he said, "How many did I miss?"
That's
And
terrifying.
this lady's niece goes to college somewhere else, and she's surrounded by signs that say, "Move to Blairsville." So I'm just telling
Are
you,
these billboards?
evidently,
This is
I
not
will
the
if I
first
can
time
find
this has
out.
been done. Prior to my coming here, I found out, and I've been here over
you've been over here 30 years.
30 years, that Blairsville was listed as one of the top 10 retirement communities in the country.
Mhm.
But you can't afford to retire here now?
Well, this was years
Yeah.
ago, and it was in the,
It was in the it was Forbes.
yeah,
That's how I found it, cause my parents retired here, and now my husband and we've been waiting all this time to come here, and we can't believe this is happening, that's why I'm here, because
well, this
30
is not
years we've
Blairsville
been
I
waiting.
moved to.
So would
You
those,
can't change, you can't stop, you cannot stop, I'm sorry,
No.
this is stroke related. You can't stop growth, okay? But you can, I hate to use the word control, but you can have some control over it.
if we the people are
Responsibility.
controlling it, that's different than the government
Yes.
controlling it. I'll tell you, our government hasn't been controlling it. I know that every meeting that I've been to, every county meeting, the bulk of what's on the agenda is different vacation rental businesses that are getting approved. But that just goes quick, like, we've never paid, nobody's raised their hand to ask about that, like, it just is like this is approved, this, and then moving on, and then there's like, it's like a whisper, it's like it didn't even happen, but at every meeting, there's a handful of them, and those are just the ones that are being approved, not the ones that are being advertised privately on the side. They're even putting out ads saying, that they'll buy your raw land as an investment, they're just like buying up everything. So we need to figure out, and so my job is I go talk to everybody and figure out why everybody's upset and try to like tie those things together, and then I'm good at talking and asking people questions, and then I share what I learned, that's my job, but I don't have answers, so if anybody has the creative problem solving to figure out what we can do about that, it'd be really helpful.
I've gone for the last 3 months to the planning, development planning meetings on Friday, the third Friday at 9. And I don't understand a lot of what I'm hearing, all of their projects are like coded, because we can't know that big supermarkets are gonna build, because it might make the deal fall. But
That's
they
not right.
well, no, it is, because
Yeah.
they can't let,
Yeah.
it can't be public, or we will lose that corporation's trust, and then,
Oh, I see.
yeah, it's I don't know what you call it,
Hijacking.
make it private. But anyway, but they talk about all sorts of things, I'm not understanding all of it, but I'm sure they're talking, because if those are businesses, that's what they're doing, it's business development. And all those Airbnbs and everything are businesses, so they must talk about that in the meeting. I sit there and I know it's gonna sound weird, but I just kind of pray and hope that they're making good decisions, and I'm just trying to
If we're not
gain.
telling them what we need to have happen, and they're not able to represent us, and it's our own fault.
And they always ask me at the end, do I have anything to say? And I don't really, because I don't know what they're saying.
I don't
So-
understand your language.
But I do go, so if anybody has any ideas of what I could do, I mean.
Maybe there's a way to tax them so that they are contributing to the county more. I mean, I know they get like a tiny tax, isn't it like $5 or something? I don't know. They
What
get,
tax the Airbnb?
there's something, yeah, there's some kind of tax that happens.
It's either a tourist, hotel tax.
They pay hotel tax,
Okay,
and that's collected, this is my understanding now,
yeah,
that it's collected through the agency, like VRBO. When they sign up with VRBO, that's part of what they pay for, is for them to collect the money and to provide it back to Union County. Same with, Airbnb. They're
okay.
supposed to collect the money and provide it back to Union County. Now, when I questioned this at the commissioner's office, I was questioning one of the employees, and I said, who keeps up with this? And I was told that they used to have somebody that followed up, but they don't have anybody anymore, so.
But there's so many people in that office.
well,
Like, I just
don't know.
realized-
That's what I was told.
I just realized that I don't have my microphone set up, and this is important that people can hear us. So I'm gonna put this here. It's not catching any of y'all, it's only catching me, okay? I hope that all of our voices got picked up on that, because that was important. Okay, so VRBO. Okay.
Vacation rental by owner.
And I wonder if those are considered, like, if they become part of the Chamber of Commerce. Well, that would make sense that they would, right, or no?
You gotta
They're
pay.
businesses, I mean,
Oh,
I doubt
All
if there's a lot of
businesses-
incentive for
All
them to be
businesses, you have to pay.
be in that.
a part of that.
So, wait a minute, so Lamar's office told you that nobody's keeping up with that? Is that what you said?
There's no one auditing to make sure that, I've got a VRBO right next door to me now, okay? I moved in a neighborhood that I didn't think could ever be a rental neighborhood, but it is. okay?
Now.
It is now, okay? There's no one checking, so I'm told, to see that the people that own the particular, property next door to me, which are out of South Florida, by the way, that they are actually providing the, taxes to Union County. It's supposed to come from VRBO or Airbnb, whoever rents it, okay? And they can belong to both. Or any number of them, I guess. But it's ultimately the owner's responsibility to make sure that the taxes get paid to Union County.
So it gets paid through the service that they use?
Yes, that's
So
I'm
if they
told.
don't use a service, then they don't even end up paying taxes. That's something we need to look
I don't
into.
know that, I don't know
Right,
that,
right.
but is there?
Right, I mean,
You know,
possibly.
Who's looking at it? I
Right.
don't know that anybody's looking at it.
And so you have one next door, and so that's something that people were saying in the group, was that, that there's no sound ordinance, so people will be partying till 5 in the morning. And then parking and blocking the road. That's the only thing that they can call the police over, or the deputies over, is if they're blocking the road, because that's emergency vehicles can't get through. But for them being loud until 5 in the morning, there's no sound ordinance. And of course, we don't want to increase regulations by putting in an ordinance that isn't there. However, if this is, I don't know what the zoning is like here, but if you have a business in a residential,
There's not any zoning.
there's no zoning, and we wanna have small businesses, so this seems like a really difficult problem to solve. We don't want people to not be able to have their small business out of their house. I mean, I have one, that would not be fun. I don't know what the
Some
answer
of
is
these
to that.
homes, rentals are in, developments with homeowners associations, and they have regulations. Like I have a friend who
Oh,
lives in
HOA,
1300, after a couple of years, some woman was renting her house, she was in Florida, she had 18 people staying in that house.
Whoa.
And of course, I don't even think she knew it.
What? They in the attic?
And they would go to the pool, and one of the guys had a snake in the pool. I mean, it's crazy stuff. But
Oh,
the
I see,
homeowner-
so she was just not really paying much
She's not there,
attention.
but people were calling her and saying, you know, you need to pay attention to what's going on. But the homeowner association took care of it by not allowing that anymore.
Okay, so if people are having issues and they have an HOA, they can go through
Yeah,
that.
but
I saw creative problem solving of, getting a rooster, lining your property with chicken poo, or some foghorns, 5 in the morning.
shooting guns.
Yeah, things like that, trying to figure out how to get people to wake up, but then you're just gonna have a different group of party people the next
Yeah.
week. So I don't know what the problem is, I just am bringing it up. I see people have a major problem. I mean, to see that like, there was 100 people in that group within a matter of hours ready to talk about it and say what the problem is. The fact that it's jacking up our property taxes, they are making it very difficult to sleep for the people that live nearby. They are trespassing on people's property, stealing their property because no one's ever gonna see them again, they don't care. And then it's taking the funding away from our schools. Like, this is all a big problem. I don't have an answer to it. I think it's something we need to start thinking about as a community. We need to start thinking about if you have any kind of inspirational aha on that. I know that there's at least like 150 people that wanna hear about it. But you know, put your thinking hats on that, and also how maybe we can get those companies, since they are taking away from our standards of living and messing up our culture here, maybe there's a way to make them contribute more to the county. Do you have an idea? Hold on just a second.
Well,
Go ahead.
I have an opinion.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to short-term rentals,
Right,
okay? Overall, I'm not opposed to them at all. If a guy owns property and he's not impacting anybody else, like any of his neighbors, he owns 100 acres, he wants to put a rental house somewhere on that 100 acres, have at it.
right,
I could care less. I live in a subdivision.
oh,
Okay, I'm
exactly.
in a subdivision. We've got neighbors 50 feet from our house, okay, and it's now a short-term rental, okay? Now, the commissioner, which that's the only place you can get a business license for a short-term rental is through the commissioner's office. You don't do it through the business license. I don't know who handles business licenses around here. Y'all know?
He approves the license, isn't that right?
It's through, that's the only type of business that they approve. I have one, I have a copy of it.
I think that's right, yeah.
And they're $10. I could go down there today, I could give them $10 and I could get me a business license,
Okay,
okay? For a rental property, okay? I can do that.
That's $100.
Yeah.
$100?
Yeah, wait, that's what it
Business license for this building.
was, $100.
For this building.
and this actually contributes to the community.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking about for short-term rental.
Right, but if it's
$100,
$100 to open your
I
own
don't
business
know.
that's actually contributing, but it's only $10 to open a business that's gonna be causing chaos in the neighborhood, that's
Yeah.
not fair.
Well, the thing that, I guess, that really irritated me is, number one, I moved into a community that I didn't think could ever be a rental, because it says it's a private residential community.
Mm.
It says no commercial businesses of any sort.
Okay,
And
yeah, that
it
seems-
says that in our covenants.
Well,
That-
then you have to.
so that seems like a thing, right?
Pardon?
That seems like, then you
Well,
shouldn't be able to do
They made up the covenant, the commissioner and the
No,
county did.
no, he didn't make up the covenant.
No, you did.
It was done,
You guys did, when they put we had the same thing. When you moved in there, you agreed to that, it was already made up, but it wasn't made up officially by the.
yeah, I agreed to a private residential
Mhm.
community and no commercial businesses,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for,
Yeah,
okay? I don't mind neighbors,
yeah.
neighbors are great,
Yeah,
okay? But having different neighbors every 2 days, that doesn't get it.
yeah,
That
but
are
you don't
there
have
to
your own
celebrate.
commissioner, you don't have your own police force.
That's right, that's right.
But is it, but wouldn't that be against the rules for where you live to do that?
Yeah, but who's gonna enforce them?
Somebody's
Well,
gotta pay a lawyer.
So the neighborhood needs to get together and say, hello,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
You have a homeowners association.
Yeah.
It's like a
There's
promise,
more,
it's
there's
not
more to it,
binding.
okay, there's more to it.
It's a promise, I have the same thing.
Okay, we have, and I won't tell you where I live. Okay.
We won't visit.
We might come for advice.
Right.
I didn't put my phone number out there either. You can email me. But the HOA, that there was only like, in our little neighborhood, we only had like 4 or 5 permanent residents, okay? Most of the lots were not built, okay? There were no houses whatsoever on them. They had, I think they had all been sold, but people had not built on them. And, the way the covenants were originally written is every lot owner had 1 vote, okay, throughout the neighborhood. So we were told, and this is the way it was originally written, that those covenants were good for 20 years, I think, could be 25, I've got it right here, I can look it up. 20 years. They said, oh, we can't change anything, because I brought it up at the first HOA meeting. What are we doing about short-term rentals? And so I was told that we can't change anything. Well, I go down to the courthouse and I ask for a copy of the covenants. Well, I get the copy that includes the amendment that says that with 75% of the homeowners agreeing, you can change anything,
Huh.
okay?
So I wonder if your
So then
HOA is getting a
I
kickback.
go to a local attorney, and again, I won't call his name, and he writes me an opinion that says, yes, with 75% you can change any parts of this covenant. Well, we had an HOA meeting, another one, and had a vote, and it did not pass, okay, to prevent it. Because we were attempting to spell out no short-term rentals, okay? That's what we were trying to prevent. And it did not pass.
Huh.
Now,
Bring it
you
up
gotta
again.
remember, huh?
Bring it up again next year.
Well, maybe
if
a
I'm
lot
still
of those
here, I will.
lots.
Yeah.
Make sure it's
But
still
you
recording.
gotta remember that most of the owners are from one small little area in South Florida.
Yeah.
They're all buddies,
Yeah.
okay?
Mhm.
And they bought this property at that time
For that reason.
thinking that they were gonna flip it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody made any money selling these lots, okay? It's,
That's
It's
really
kind of-
frustrating.
So they have, if I got this right, there's one property and they have a half a dozen owners, and each one of them get a vote?
But the
Or
property's
is it
around
No,
seven.
no,
There's one
no.
vote per
one
property?
vote per lot.
Per
Per
lot.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah, so
And
if there's
unfortunately,
30 lots, you got 30 votes that
Mhm.
okay.
can be
the
voted.
majority
Yeah,
was
we
there
tried
for
to
the
change
investment.
covenants in our homeowners association,
Mhm.
and we couldn't muster the votes either. But
Yeah.
there's attorneys that specialize in homeowners association, that's all they do.
Yeah.
And
we
You're
were-
probably busy
We
too.
wound up consulting one of them to know that we were on firm ground, but we still couldn't muster the votes, so we, basically, we gave up
I'm
trying
not
to.
asking for a name, but is it a local attorney that
Uh,
specializes in that?
No, it wasn't,
This was in
it was
North
some,
Carolina.
Oh,
it was
okay,
some
okay.
attorneys over in Asheville.
Okay,
But there are state HOA laws as well.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
okay.
Well, okay, so maybe there's a way to get them to contribute more to the community, because something that I would really like to put out there to the collective minds of Union County is coming up with creative ways that we can actually, so this is something else that I learned from Trump, from paying attention all this time. Everybody's bickering or like paying attention to this or that, but I was like looking at the underlying, he taught me a lot of things. So, it is possible to be financially abundant without having to tax the people. I know that there's ways out there for us to earn revenue in this county without it having to come from people that are already being super taxed. Inflation, gas prices, uncertainty. The uncertainty is the scariest part. I know that there's ways to make revenue. There's gotta be ways for us to be able to earn money for the county to pay for things without it having to all come from fighting the tax payers to pay the taxes and then not listening. So that's a major issue that I have, honestly, is the not hearing each other part. But if anybody can come up with some creative ways, I mean, one way could be to come up with a better way to tax those businesses, since they are making, they are benefiting from being here, but we're not benefiting from having them, you know? I don't know how
I'm not
that works.
sure how that works with the vacation rentals, because they're not based here in the county,
Yeah, most of the owners do not live anywhere near here,
but the company itself,
the company,
like
right?
Airbnb, because we use them a lot. I don't know where their home offices are, but I guess I can't understand how, I don't think they even have to be licensed in everywhere that a house is rented,
Right.
so.
And of course too, I mean, if you are on a fixed income and you happen to have like a 2-story house and you can make more income by renting out your downstairs, I mean, that's good. I think there's a difference too between local owners and owners that are not from here. You know, local owners would be giving back to the community because it's their community. I don't know the answer to this, but just getting the conversation going, because there are a lot of people that are concerned about it, so it needs to be paid attention to, because it's not fair that so many people are upset. We have to hear each other. Did you have an idea?
A lot of the people who buy here are just like they are everywhere else. They buy here with the intention of renting it out on a short-term basis to help pay the overhead on it.
Right, and they're not people from here.
No,
So
they're
then
not
we
from here,
have-
but they come here and they use it here, but at the same time,
Well, perhaps some of their income should go back into the county.
So,
Absolutely.
so shouldn't they have to live there, like, is there
well,
a
they
residence?
pay their property taxes, just like we pay our property tax.
Right, that's true.
If you look on that, somebody posted something about to see where all the BBROs were around you. And if you look on that site, I can't remember what it was called, it tells you how many days they're available. And some of them are available like 364 days a year, you know, some are like for 90 days. Shouldn't everybody that has a BBRO, if we could make a law that says they have to live there a certain amount of time, then you wouldn't have all these ones where that's all they are.
Right.
So that would be,
I don't know,
Maybe.
and anybody that's watching this at home, if you have any ideas, let's talk about it.
I think it's a little late for that, cause it's already started.
It has already started.
You know, like poison ivy, once it gets started, it's hard to get rid of.
Ooh, but I'm good at ripping that stuff up though. So the VBRO, that ties into the East Blast, in my mind, it does big time, because if we're losing federal funding and then it's having to come from the taxpayers, that's an issue. But then also it ties into multifamily housing. So the reason it ties into multifamily housing is because if our kids decide to go have their first home, they sure can't afford one if there's a company out there buying them up for $100,000 over asking price, cash down. Then where are our kids gonna go for their starter houses? Or anybody, I got forced into buying my house for a stupid price, because I knew that if I negotiated, I would go into a bidding war, and I was renting that house for 6 months, and it was the only place available to rent. And then all of a sudden they're saying they're selling it and I need to move, and I'm like, there's nowhere, I'm about to have to leave Georgia, are you kidding me? So I just bought a house in this economy for a stupid amount, and I can't believe I did it, but I did. But that was the only house. That's why I had to buy it, because there was nowhere else to go. I would have had to leave Blairsville. So now we have this multifamily housing situation coming up, and that is something I have noticed has been very set off to the side at the commissioner meetings, try not to draw attention to it, but there are people that are upset about that. We had a meeting, and I don't remember, was it April 2nd? I think it was April 2nd. And I haven't uploaded that video yet, and the reason why is because it was a very long meeting, and it's taking me a while to edit it and upload it. But I will get that uploaded, and then we have another meeting, and I think this one's gonna be a really powerful one to go to, if you can possibly make it. It's on, May 28th, which is Memorial Day, okay? And it's at 10 in the morning, but there are gonna be 3 speakers there that are very, very important people that know a lot about this multifamily housing issue, including one of them, I think, is the, I don't remember. I should have had the names written down on a piece of paper.
Okay.
You know who it is?
Well, so so that day, they're gonna have 3 people there, I think it's 3 different people that are gonna talk on multifamily housing. There's also gonna be somebody there that's gonna talk about the comprehensive planning for the county.
Yep.
And then the last thing is, why did it just leave my mind? Dr. Dan from Murphy, North Carolina is going to come speak. And he's
Who's
a
he?
wealth of knowledge.
Oh, the commissioner.
Yes, he's got a wealth of information.
That's really cool. Okay, so, and then also you get to ask questions of those people. And this is a really important thing, okay? And the reason this is important is because, we don't want a lot of people don't want the multifamily housing for good reason, because there's so much going on in this country, and whenever we ask questions about it, we get gaslit, like, oh, why are you being mean and asking questions about that? Don't you care about the people? Well, do you care about us? Because we keep asking questions. Quit trying to make us look like we're bad people for asking questions. How about just like hear us and know that we have concerns, and then maybe if you can hear those concerns, you can, if you can hear those concerns, then you can make accommodations so that everybody feels like their needs are met and their concerns are addressed, instead of just brushing those concerns off. I mean, we're seeing people coming across the border and being bused places. I don't know about you guys, but that concerns me. I mean, I moved back here from Houston, and that is like a major hub of that action there. And you saw the people nearby in San Antonio from Haiti, and I called over there, by the way, because that's the kind of person I am. I want to know. I don't believe the TV when they're telling me stuff. So I called the gas station there, and this girl was like, oh my goodness, it's crazy here. People everywhere. And so perhaps that has nothing to do with Union County.
It will.
But there are a lot of people concerned, and whenever they ask about it, they get brushed off like they're lunatics.
Listen,
Go ahead, and then Teresa.
whatever
Hold on
this
a
is
second,
worth.
Teresa.
I've been up here for over 20 years. I've worked for Byers Well Drilling for a long time. I have talked to a lot of local people, and for whatever this is worth, before I would start your well, I would try to gain your confidence that I was in your camp, okay? So I got to talk to people. I mean, really get into their hearts. Local people. Is there anybody in here from Union County?
Hello.
Frank.
You are.
Hello. I've been here longer than you have.
Okay, but are you from Union County? Yes or no?
Born and raised here.
Yeah. Well,
That would be an thank you, sir. You really wanna know the answer to that?
Yes,
Or you really seriously wanna know the answer to that?
for whatever it's worth.
It's a hell of a story.
Okay. Listen,
alright, I'll cut to the chase. I was here in Union County at Notley Dam, cause I have a photograph of it, with my mom with a baby bump in 1947.
So that counts.
I was the baby bump.
okay,
I have a picture of the lake that has no water in it.
okay.
I was here before I was born, and I have lived here the rest of my life. I've built over 250 homes in the area, and I have an issue with this son of a bitchin' commissioner.
Okay, hold on.
He's cost me
No, wait.
$5.5 million cash dollars,
Right.
and
I
I'll
know you.
stop
I
right
know
there.
you, and I know what you've been through. But what I'm trying to say is, the length of time I've been here, I've talked to young men who look at us as we are the problem.
Right,
because
the boomers.
I can't even buy a piece of property in my hometown, my county, because the property escalation. If I'm not given a piece of property from my parents, I'm not gonna live here.
Right,
So local people, this is that's their mindset. We are the problem. We're gonna have to gain the confidence of local people that our heart and interest is in Union County.
well, that's why we're here at this meeting,
I know
right?
that.
So, and I don't, how many of them are going to the meetings, so do they even know what's going on?
Okay, so that's what, my wife was with a hairdresser just yesterday. All right, I'm not gonna name her, but she bitches about, move-ins.
On the air.
About people moving in? And then do they say coming in and changing things?
Yes.
Right, okay, so there is a woman that is like a matriarch in my bloodline here. I say my bloodline because my family that I know, that's like my actual family, they all moved out to go work. So I have like my closest, cousins that I am very close with all live about an hour away. The people that are here, I didn't grow up knowing, so they're my family bloodline. But talking to one of them, she was really, really ugly to me. Oh, super ugly. Wouldn't even look at me, like I don't belong in the family because I'm coming in trying to change things.
Right.
And I tried to tell her, are you paying attention to what is being changed? And that the people that are showing up are trying desperately to keep it from changing? Because that's what's going on. That's why we're all here.
Right, exactly.
To try to slow down the
But
change.
we
But you have to pay attention, or
We
you
have
don't
to
know.
convince them to join forces with us.
Right.
Has anybody ever figured out, we had 3 restaurants come in during just COVID, let's just say that.
Right.
We have enough, rental, what do you call those, storage units.
Yeah.
We could all live in one of them. Okay, now, look, go by your gas companies and see how many new tanks they've got.
In storage.
And storage. And somebody's gotta tell me that, these multi-units just came up on the.
Right, back to the
okay.
multi-
Well, I came from, they're called projects. And they
Okay.
last 2 years, because those people don't care. And I'm telling y'all, you better take a picture, just a minute, honey.
Okay.
I ain't through. You better take a picture of this place, because when you have Jose and, hey, it doesn't matter.
I know, but it does, because it's all inclusive, but I think that
I worked for 28 years, there's nothing you can tell me that I don't know.
well, I
Oh,
understand,
that's probably some things in
I
there.
understand though,
You don't know
the
everything.
fear of losing the culture
I
though
worked
is
that
really
culture
important.
28 years.
Here
Say
is
again?
where, this is
I
where,
worked the culture 28 years.
okay, this is where our Appalachian folk medicine, that's why I know how to go dig up the sassafras roots and find all the good mushrooms, okay? Well, I'm saying good mushrooms. I don't do I need to clarify that. Let me back up a little bit. The good mushrooms. But the reason I know all that is because my family learned that when they moved here in the 1800s, and that's the culture here. And I know how to make cornbread and good cakes from scratch and all that. That's our culture here. And you know what else? Our culture here knew how to live within their means. They knew not to go buy fancy stuff if they couldn't afford it. They knew all of those things, and all of those things are changing, and we're losing our culture real fast anyway, no matter whether they have the multifamily housing here or not. But we need to pay attention to that. So I don't have answers for the multifamily housing, but there is a meeting at 10 a.m. on May 28th at the Civic Center, and that's gonna have a lot of answers, and you can ask questions there.
Yeah.
Cause we need to really
All right,
stay on top
all right,
of
stop
it.
right there. Is the commissioner gonna be there?
It has nothing to do with him.
The hell it isn't.
We
Every
have-
time I've gone to one of those meetings, he said, I'm gonna read the agenda, and I'll walk away, and y'all can talk amongst yourselves.
No,
Well,
he
what
has
the
nothing to
hell
do
is
with
it? What the hell is the reason to have a damn a meeting if he doesn't understand what us constituents have to say,
He doesn't
and he
wanna hear
just
what we
walks
got
the
to say.
hell right out.
Right.
I've never been to another meeting after that. That man cost me $5.5 million cash dollars and he just walks right out.
He's not gonna
Excuse me?
No, he has nothing to do with that meeting, so a lot of citizens are.
He has everything to do with it. He
No,
had
no,
the
no.
power of God in this county.
Not if we start showing up, and that's why that meeting is
Well,
happening.
This ain't enough.
Okay, so, but it's starting, okay, it's starting. And also, people watch these videos a lot because they actually are starting to wanna know. And the commissioner meetings themselves are starting to be standing room only because people are starting to pay attention, but we have to start talking about it first. Now, this meeting at the Civic Center was organized by citizens,
Tea Party Patriots.
by the Tea Party Patriots.
You
So the
have a
Tea-
microphone.
No, I forgot it. I forgot my microphone. Okay, I'll talk louder. So the Tea Party Patriots, they are conservatives. Oh, and that's another thing we need to bring up before we shut this down is the Tea Party Patriots are also the ones that are putting the petition for a multi-commissioner board to
Yes.
get that question on the ballot. So the Tea Party Patriots are conservatives that are, they actually list, like from what I've seen, I haven't seen oh my goodness, I forgot the name.
Republican
of it.
Party, I got a call from, said,
the
Brian,
G-
I'm gonna bring you a document and you fill it out and then you give it to everyone and then give them a copy of, if they sign it, give them a copy and let them get 10, which I just signed.
Oh,
And
good.
then and everyone fill out 10 other people that they know. That's,
Now you need to make sure that it's your name on the voter roll because they're gonna be really strict about signatures on that. And
well,
I'm
wait
not
a
really
minute,
sure-
wait a minute. I can go to Mexico, walk across the county,
Right.
into the United States and get $5 or $10 $10,000 and go wherever the hell I want to go with coronas or not.
Right.
Hello,
Okay.
knock knock.
So what I was saying is, what I've noticed is, since people started paying attention and talking, and there's been a lot of for the people stuff going on, I'm just gonna say it. Say it to the camera.
Well, say it.
The GOP I have not seen any room in any of their meetings in the last handful of months where any of the citizens or the paid members of the GOP are able to ask questions of the GOP or bring up anything that has to do with what we want. So, of course, there's an election coming up, so they have a lot of, I like going to those meetings because I get to see who's running for Congress and talk to them one-on-one, but there's been no area that I've seen where we're able to give our ideas as members of the Conservative Party. It's like the GOP is just running with whatever they're running with. But what I have noticed is that the Tea Party is like, they're conservatives, but they are actually going out and talking to people and making things happen.
Well, if you look at the newspaper this
The
week,
GOP is censoring
there's
it, by the way.
nothing in there to tell you about it. I looked at, they had who you're voting for, Republican and Democrat. I don't even know who in the hell those people are.
Well, you
And
gotta
there's
start paying
nothing
attention.
where do you find out who these people are?
Oh, what is it? Is it GB? No, not GBI. What is that? GeorgiaPublicBroadcasting.org. GPB.org. Okay, so I just discovered this, so I hope I'm not wrong about it. GPB.org has a ton of videos.
Oh, I'll remember that one.
Georgia Public Broadcasting, okay? And they have a ton of videos on there of debates with people that are up for election, okay? So that's one place to go.
And why
to get,
why does not our 1 week a newspaper saying who you're wanting to vote for? It used to be.
I don't know.
The GOP at the last 3 or 4 meetings,
Am I being a bad guy?
no,
Joe.
the GOP.
You're very feisty.
I'll leave if you tell me I need to leave.
Let's speak one at a time.
Yeah.
The
Okay, Cindy.
GOP at their last 3 or 4 meetings have had the candidates that are running for office to the GOP meeting, and we've heard most of them speak.
Yeah, that's been
So
really
they
helpful.
have had them. You just have to go to the meeting and listen to what they're saying and decide if they're.
Now, I can't
feeding the
speak
line
at all for
or
what the
you believe what
Democrat
they're saying.
Party is doing or if they're having the same thing going on there, because I'm not a member of them and I just don't follow it. I'm a strict constitutionalist. I try not to be biased, but I am a strict constitutionalist and I will be biased about that. So I tend to hang out with the GOP. because that's what they're supposed to stand for, although they've been having meetings, and I'm just gonna say it, because when I say things out loud, things stop happening that way, and they start happening the way it should, but they've been having meetings trying to figure out how to limit the amount that people can speak, and that is concerning, because they're supposed to be by the people, for the people, free speech and all that, so
I
I'm just
caused
calling it
that
out.
on the last meeting.
No, they've been having meetings long
Okay.
before you stood up and started talking last time. No, that's just multiple
Well, you
meetings
know,
now.
truth's the truth,
Right.
and she tried to shut me down, but no, truth's the truth.
Yeah.
So then, all right, so what was it? We've got multifamily housing, short-term rentals.
Can I say one thing about I was gonna
Yeah,
say
yeah,
something,
please.
but I didn't have an opportunity. One thing I discovered at those, planning meetings is one of their visions for the multi-family housing, I believe I have this correct, is they feel they need housing so they can have workers for places like Aldi's, the places they're
The
bringing
workers.
in.
That's what I
So
was
they
thinking.
have a vision, so the multifamily housing, and also for people that can't afford housing, and so they will get, and this is just me saying this, if they do subsidized housing, they get money, the county will get money for the subsidized housing.
So if it's
So-
subsidized,
Now,
that
I'm not
means.
saying they're doing that, but that, they're saying low income, and they're also for workers, so they can draw workers in, cause there's no place for workers to live. So they must, in my mind, have a vision for more big box, more businesses.
Right.
That's that's my own trying to interpret what I'm hearing. Like I said, I don't understand a lot of what I'm hearing.
Could I respond to that?
But
No, hold on, I've got people that have
that's
their,
the multifamily, that's why they're pushing it, is because they have more they're gonna do.
they
off
have a
of that.
plan and they're not sharing with us.
That's my.
I get that sense, that's why the trust isn't there. I mean, I can tell when people aren't telling me all the information I need to know, and then it makes me say no, and that's not right either, cause what if it's a good idea, but I'm just gonna say no because I don't believe you.
We need to
My son
understand their
knows
vision.
that, he tells me the truth, cause he knows I'm gonna say no.
Y'all just confirmed everything I said.
Okay, so then, yeah, but then that's kind of like, we need workers, but you know what we really need? We had all these, what is it, not COVID funds, but it was the COVID funds, came in and went to all of these different things.
Do not have a place to live, so it would give them a place to live. It was, but then they're drawing more workers in for more, it's a cycle.
It's a cycle that
It's a
won't
cycle.
end,
That's
right.
what-
Okay,
But the problem is, the
Hold
Section
on.
8 housing's full, and they're not working.
Oh.
Because you say, you want it.
so then that's not,
You cannot say anything to a Section 8,
This is the Agenda
you
21.
cannot.
Did you go to the Agenda 21 meeting?
where was
Where they
it?
built the first multi-housing behind the Cowboy store?
Was there a 2021 meeting here?
Yeah, it
Okay.
was about how many years ago?
7 years ago.
Cause we went to it, remember? And, this is how they explained it. Well, see, this is all Agenda 21. They said, oh, we've got to build these places so people, will have a place to live that work these jobs that don't pay much money. Well, I know a person that lives over there, okay? These people are not working. They're
So they're
mostly
not
on
even
public
working.
assistance.
Yep.
But
So then
that's
that
what-
wouldn't be
And they're
contributing.
transient.
That's what that's not what I'm seeing per se, but that's what they're seeing
That's
by
what-
building these, they think
I know
that that's
that,
what.
but nobody will listen.
And even in the
I don't know
newspaper,
how
the
you-
police said that with these multifamily housings, we're gonna get the caliber of people who are gonna commit crime and build drugs.
Yep.
And also, they're
Okay.
not owning the
And the
property,
police
so they don't care
admitted
as much.
that.
Hold on though, cause, you had something to add and you've been waiting so patiently.
Well, I was just gonna touch on at the last commissioners meeting, if you recall, the question was raised about the property across from Mountain View that's already raised.
Yes.
And someone inquired, what's the plan for that property?
Yeah.
And it was kinda like, well, I don't know, could be this, could be that, I don't know.
Oh, the one that was like okay, so was
Right
that
next
the
to
one where
Leon's.
it's only $3,000 a year to rent it and not even the first year? That's after the first year.
No,
That's
a
not the
separate
one?
property.
Cause that one, when we asked him what that one was for, he said it might be, and I'm sorry, but if we're putting our county money into it and then they're cleaning it up and getting it ready for this place, they're not charging rent the first year, and then when they do, it's only $3,000 a year. I would hope they would know for sure what's gonna be going in there, but he said it,
Answer that.
yeah, he said it might be
rentals? Or
not
family
rentals,
homes?
it was like a drug rehab kind of situation, yeah.
That's next to Leon's. There used to be a asphalt plant, and it was condemned, because I asked
Is that
him.
the one you're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
I remember
asked him
this.
that question. I said, is that the property that's condemned, that was condemned? And he said, yeah, it was, but, it's okay now, they've tested it and it's okay.
It's probably gonna be a chicken house.
No, it's, he said, they might put in some type of housing there or something, but I don't know, that's how he said it.
Right.
I bet we have more chicken houses than you can shake a stick at pretty soon.
Can I
Yeah.
interject a little bit of humor here?
Okay, yes, you're really
Okay.
good. And then remind me, I have one more thing I wanna add before we go.
Working for my employer for 20 years, I've been drilling wells around this area. I come across an old man one day, drilling a well for him, and he was telling me about this problem he had with a rental property across the street. Parties all night long, tires squealing, he was convinced drug deals were going down. He said, I burnt the place down.
Pete!
He fixed it.
Oh, man, oh, that was hilarious.
Hey,
That sounds like the problem solving with the chicken coop and the rooster and the fog barn. Okay, so then there's one more thing I wanna say. Now, y'all might remember, if you were here last month, I was talking about what I uncovered in that tiny town in Texas, Wimberley, Texas, where I started noticing some patterns and I started paying attention to the names, and then I cross-referenced and I discovered a communist party, hold on, had taken over that town and took over the radio, the news, the city council, the school board, every single
What
aspect
do
of
you think
that.
the Democrat Party is doing?
It was, right, so this particular group was called Indivisible. And what was really terrifying was that they had completely changed that town, and not one person there knew they even existed, except for the group themselves. That was the scary part. And so I had to uncover that, and then I moved back home, because I was like, forget this place. I'm gonna just drop that truth, and I'm gonna get out. And I got back here just in time to vote. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because I brought that up at the last meeting, someone nudged me a couple weeks later to show me there is a guy, there's at least one in Union County that says he was paid to move here to vote blue through an organization called Fair Fight, okay? And so Fair Fight is a group that's just like Indivisible from what I can see. And Indivisible, now they slowly infiltrated since 1995 until 2020 was when I left. But they had just drip by drip by drip paid to have their people move there until they completely changed the landscape of that place. So I just want to alert everyone that there is something, there's at least Fair Fight, if not more of them. And the whole purpose is to pay people to move to a place that votes a certain way to change the vote. And that is incredibly dishonest. I don't care.
Website.
You found it? See, I'm not lying, it's a thing.
Fairfight.com.
Fairfight.com.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, no cursing. Yes, you can.
Did I say any foul words before?
I don't know, it's fine, I'm just kind of teasing you. You have a lot of flair.
I did 3 tours of Vietnam.
Wow.
I'm very passionate.
I understand. No, I completely understand.
The United States, when we came home, we had rocks and Coke bottles thrown at us. That's how the Vietnam vets came home.
I'm so sorry.
I still voted every single time. And here's what I'm saying right now. I will never vote again because I cannot outvote a computer.
What if?
No. There's no reason to vote. Period. Because there's somebody in third world countries can manipulate the computers to change our votes. Because everyone that I have said the same thing to waited until 12, 1, 2, and 3 o'clock in the morning when Trump won by a landslide, and all of a sudden, 3,000, I've heard that there was a blip and 3,000 votes from here, and it popped up over 3,000 votes over here, and then 5,000 here and 5,000 there. I will never vote
Don't
again.
think-
Now, I read the newspaper this week, and they're talking about all the people. Brian Kemp is a butt, because he turned on Georgia. He allowed not to count the votes. He abolished for anyone to be able to do that. What is the point of voting?
Okay, so my rebuttal to that would be, to me, I finally believe in my vote after what I've seen, because they wouldn't have had to work so hard if our vote wasn't important. So
That's right.
hopefully we've gotten some things maybe accomplished at that point. That's just going on faith. If we don't have the machines fixed, then you're absolutely right. But I'm gonna keep voting, because if I don't, then they're not gonna have to work so
Can't you request
hard.
the paper ballot?
I'm sorry?
Why don't you request the paper ballot? Yeah.
Well, that's the most illegal thing known to man.
Isn't that-
They found bags and bags and bags in all the states where they were thrown out in the backyard.
Every one of
So-
these paper ballots it's a number. They know how many they printed.
No, they
No,
proved
no.
that the numbers didn't
Well,
work.
those
No.
were mail-in ballots.
Those-
If you go straight to the courthouse and get a paper ballot, it's there.
Has
You
anyone
don't
seen
understand
2,000 Mules yet? 2,000 Mules? Wasn't that like based out of Atlanta for most of it?
Yeah. They premiered it down in Mar-a-Lago,
Yeah,
over the
Dinesh
weekend.
D'Souza.
That's pretty
And,
cool. I haven't seen it yet.
Well,
Why don't we all just vote for Candace Taylor? She's for Jesus, God, Jesus, guns, and babies.
Right.
And when she came to Blairsville, which she had permission to speak at City Plumbing, when her bus drove in,
They run around.
they ran her off. I
Wow.
know, because I don't like secondhand information, I was standing there. So that's who's getting my vote. And let me tell you, Kemp nor Purdue wanted her on the stage speaking the other night.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, somehow that little lady got herself on there.
She sure
Now,
did.
that's the one that I'm voting for.
I will say, I was there when she spoke outside of the mattress, outside of the GOP office.
Yeah.
That was a
And,
joke.
yeah, but it was good for me because I
It
got
was
to talk
good
to
for
her
me. But see,
one-on-one.
they gave Vernon Jones
But
25 years.
when they can change the
Hold on,
vote
everybody. Hey,
of a computer, you're voting for the right person, but they can change the votes.
okay,
I understand what you're saying.
Listen,
one at a time.
I'm sorry.
Okay, it's very important that we have one at a time, okay? Go ahead.
Well, to address what Brian just said, we have oversight. We go in there intent on watching this election. We watch it like a hawk, and we will not leave if there's a water leak or whatever. No, this is my job. I'm staying here.
And I'll tell you something, I bet everything that just happened is what's making people pay attention for once. And as we're paying attention, we're finding oversight after oversight, because of course, if nobody was paying attention, they didn't have to pay attention. How much of our tax money is just being flushed away because nobody's paying attention to loose
Exactly.
ends?
89%.
Probably.
Let me say this, and I'm through. The truth is easy to defend. These people have to work so hard to perpetrate this lie. They're lying over each other. So if they were ever taken to task about what really happened, they couldn't corroborate a story. The truth is easy to defend.
That's the reason why every time Trump was accused of a situation,
It never
that
worked.
all they did was learn that he didn't do it, but they learned who done it,
Yes.
and it was swept under the carpet. Then they came up with another one, and another one, and another one. It was all swept up. They found out who done it.
Right.
The FBI is crooked, the CIA is crooked. The only thing we have left, people, is the Second Amendment, and it's time to take our arms and go after and take our country back.
Cindy.
That's the whole purpose of the Second Amendment.
Okay.
Yes, I agree.
Cindy, I wanna hear what you have to say.
I just wanna say too, before we leave, in case anybody didn't know, we have the petition out here if anybody wants to sign it for the Board of Commissioners, going from sole to a board.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
yes,
Frank,
I'll sign.
How many signatures
I
do
wanna
we
get
have?
back to
5,000?
something we do something about.
hold on a second, Frank, yeah,
This multifamily thing.
Okay.
that we talked about. I understand everybody's complaints about that.
I think it might be even more just.
Well, why are they
Hold
complaining?
on. One at a time.
But, and as far as the drug dealing and all that that is not the apartment's fault. That is your law enforcement.
Huh, that's true.
You need, you're
Well,
gonna
I
have to
agree.
elect somebody that will
Ruth
take,
is gonna
that
talk.
will, you'll have to elect somebody who will enforce the laws.
Huh. I wonder
And the
if,
other thing is that all people who rent are not drug dealers and trash and this, that, and the other.
right,
You said you had to rent.
I was
when you
renting.
come here.
Mhm.
Other people have to rent also. They don't have the money to go and buy a house, so they have to rent a house.
that's true.
We cannot have a community unless we have workers, and we cannot have workers unless we can provide a place for them.
We have no workers.
Thank you for saying that, Frank, I appreciate it, because one reason why we need to talk about these things is because there's obviously a lot of fear, and fear isn't always based on logic, it's based on emotion, and we need to be able to talk about it so we can get all that out, and then also so that we can hear counter ideas to what our fears are, because it kind of makes us put things in perspective. And that is very true, what you just said. So law enforcement on that would really be what would,
And we got the sorriest city and county right here that ever was.
for the law enforcement, you mean?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's oversight issues also. Because I went and talked with Sheriff Mason myself, and I can,
He talks a good tale, and I backed him
I can-
100%.
it feels like he means what he says, so is he just being lazy? You know, I don't know, is it an oversight issue and we haven't been on him about it? I don't know. I don't know, I mean, it feels like he means what he says, that's what it feels like. Ruth?
I wouldn't say anything.
Oh, I was just gonna say to the gentleman there, or in general, if we don't vote the proper way, and we don't vote at all, isn't that a vote for the other guy?
Exactly. Hey, it's not one vote, it's two.
There you go,
Yeah.
help him with that.
But we can change it with the computer, we don't have no vote.
Yeah, but
Right,
that's
so
the
what
object
we
is
have to do is we have to get rid of those damn computers and go
And then
back to
stand-
paper ballots all the way through.
It kept
That's
just
what
went
we've
into
gotta do.
business with
I've lived
George
here my
Soros.
entire life, and I used to go to the courthouse, and you did it on paper.
Right, we gotta go back to that.
Because I can't outvote a computer.
So how do we get back to
Get
that?
rid of the computer.
We, the people.
We, the people.
People
Hey,
have to.
question.
That's the whole point of the Second Amendment.
Right,
To
We,
invite
the
this guy
people,
to
can
a
take our
future
government
rally
over.
with a megaphone.
exactly. And that's what we gotta do.
I have a question. So in this county, would that be something that would be controlled by our Board of Elections? Board of Electors? Is this still recording? Yeah.
It should.
That's something we can control here, yeah? I
Only
haven't-
local,
Local.
only local.
That's all we can do.
You
This
know,
is a Democrat county.
did y'all, before y'all leave, did you have anything else that? No. Okay,
Just, what someone said about the Fair Fight, Stacey Abrams on the website is the founder of Fair Fight. Just
okay, and
FYI.
I'm guessing it's probably
That's it.
also a Soros group funded thing, just like Indivisible was. So Indivisible was funded by Soros. Indivisible's funded by Soros groups and promoted by the US Communist Party, or Communist Party USA. If anyone can research more about Fair Fight, I bet you'll find the same thing.
It said Georgia and Texas too were the two main states it's in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. on the website.
Interesting. Well, Indivisible in Texas was linked with Teradyne, who has the Huawei 5G connection and just happens to be located at every place where the medical research labs were infiltrated by the People's Army of, the China communists. So like, this is why like I piece all these little things, like, oh, I noticed all that stuff. We need to pay attention to that. that. Look, cause that's not about Republican or Democrat.
That's correct.
That's not about any of it. And
It's
in
called control, it's
fact,
called control.
I grew up in a place, I grew up in the music scene and the artist scene in Houston, and my friends that I love and I know are very intelligent, it feels like they've gotten swept up in this direction with identity politics because they use emotions to say, well, if you don't do this, then you don't care about the whatever. And then it's like, of course I care about the whatever. But they should give you an opportunity to have multiple ways to solve that problem. Not just say this is bad, so if you care about this, then you have to do it like this and give us all your money. And then now they're like swept off into this where being okay with Soros, who brags about going into countries and annihilating their economy and saying it's survival of the fittest, but then they're like, oh, he cares about people. He doesn't care about people.
So what do you think Vietnam was about?
Right.
It was about,
all of it.
It was about tearing down our American fighting men.
I'm
That's
sorry.
what, Vietnam to me was, my father was a lifer, okay? And so, Vietnam to me was tearing down the will of our American fighting men by our president and all the people like that. They have taken the heart out of the American fighting man by the way that they were treated when they came home.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier.
That's
I came home
exactly
and
right.
having rocks and
hold
coke
on,
bottles
everybody.
thrown
We
at
gotta
me.
come back.
Perpetrated.
Coming
for
back
you
to the now
think
in Union
this.
County. So.
Yes, it
so-
did. It did. I came home to Union
Hold
County.
on.
I sat in the damn jungle and
I
said, God, if
understand.
you can get me back to
Okay,
Union
listen,
County,
we're coming
I'll
back.
quit
Right.
killing people.
We're having a town hall meeting and we need to wrap it up. So I'm gonna wrap it up now, okay? And we're not gonna talk over each other, but I need to wrap this up. So in conclusion, and also I kinda wanna explain what I was just saying, because this is not a partisan, this is nonpartisan, okay? Not partisan, I always say that, like the blinds. No, this is nonpartisan. But what I was saying about getting swept up another way is I understand emotions going one way or the other, but the truth is that we're the people, and we shouldn't be basing our decisions off of people that are in service to self and power, having power over the people. We are the people, and it doesn't matter what side of the thing you're on. We all live in this county, and the truth is that everybody cares. And with the amount of information that we have, we're just trying to do the right thing. So a lot of us are driven by fears of things happening, but talking to someone like what Frank just interjected makes total sense. And having these conversations together, if you can understand why somebody is concerned and speak to those concerns and make room for them on either side, I think we can come together as a community and have more power. But we need to start paying attention. If any of the things that we talked about today happens to come up for you over the next month, and you can do a little research or brainstorm on ways to solve problems, that would be really helpful. No one person has all the answers, but together, if we care a lot, we can come up with something. So that's it. I think we did a good job today. We covered a lot of information. Did you have something else you wanted to say before we go? For some reason, did you have your hand up? Okay, I'll be right there.
Well, I just wanted to make a kind of a public service announcement here on the commissioners, okay?
Okay.
This is my opinion,
Okay.
okay? Just my opinion,
Okay.
okay? Now, I've lived in counties, I've lived in Barrow County where I grew up, where we had a board of commissioners and they never got anything done.
I keep hearing that.
They were constantly fighting, okay? Bickering, just constant.
How many did you have?
I don't remember. It had more as the county got bigger.
Okay.
I moved here after living in Bartow County for 30 years, okay? Bartow County had a sole commissioner. He was Republican, okay, that's a very conservative area. That was great, okay? While I lived there, in 30 years, we had 3 commissioners, okay? And every one of them did an absolutely fantastic job and grew the county, brought in infrastructure. It's just a great place to live. I think one of the things that's lacking right here in Union County, and I've only been here for 2 years, okay, is a lack of vision. Nobody knows what we want to be, it's just whatever's happening today.
It seems the commissioner and the building and planning do have a vision, but it's not with public input, and that's the reason why people want it. No, go ahead.
It's my responsibility.
What is?
I need to go to the, commissioner's meeting.
Yes,
I've
it
never
makes
been
a
to it.
big
But
difference.
what I was gonna say earlier when I was talking about those licenses, in Bartow County in particular, where we had zoning, okay? And zoning cleaned up the county, okay? It got rid of all the old trailers that were abandoned, that were on the side of the road like you see up and down, 515 here. Got rid of all that kind of stuff, cleaned it up. Put in recycling centers, free recycling centers all over the county. You can take your garbage anywhere you wanted to, okay? As long as you were a resident of Bartow County. But they did an absolutely fantastic job. They had zoning, when a zone or something was gonna change with regard to zoning, you had to have public hearings, you had to post signs, you had to stay up so that people could contest it if they wanted to. With this business license and the commissioner being the one that grants the business license, nobody bothered to call me and say, hey, somebody bought this house next door to you and they're gonna make it a VRBO.
Right.
Nobody bothered to tell me that, and I'm the one impacted.
So we're having a major disconnect with the things that are changing so fast and not having public input.
Yes.
That's really the big concern, and the problem solving
There was
stemming
absolutely
from
no
that.
heads up.
Yeah.
That, hey, this is fixing to change your life.
Okay, last,
Okay, I just want to mention, you said something about fair fight.
yeah,
If you go on the social media, you've seen me comment, Warren Harper.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a couple guys on there, they might be fake, but I went back and looked at their Facebook pages, and they are part of fair fight.
okay, hold on. Okay, so you found 2 people in the local social,
There's 3 now.
3
They're
fair
all
fights.
friends with each other.
And you can see the connection, and you see Stacy Luken's picture.
Yeah, we have to stay on top of that. I don't care what side of what you're on. It's not fair to have these power-hungry people spending money to change the culture of your town intentionally like that. That is not right. To pay people to come here to vote is really, really dirty.
He's being really false in the way he's trying to catch people into the conversation, but I noticed on his Facebook, he says, well, I'm finally exposed, I'm gonna open up starting construction on a relief shelter for the homeless in downtown Blairsville.
So I'm wondering if that has to do with the $3,000 a year. I'm just wondering.
So I called up Blair Darren Harper, that's my last name, I should remember that. And I said, is it true that you're putting a homeless shelter in downtown Blairsville? And he said, I wish we were.
Really?
And I-
Okay.
So anyway.
So maybe that's all a big play and a big ruse, but I do know fairfight.org or .com, I know that group does exist. It's something we need to pay attention to. We need to start paying more attention and sharing our information and being okay with having people disagree with us because we might have our fears calmed, and that's always a good thing, or we might educate them on something they don't know about. It would be so nice to be blissfully unaware, but then you see the world goes, burns down all around you. You gotta pay attention. Okay, I think we did a great job, everybody. Thanks for coming. Next meeting?
Can I say one last thing?
Okay, hold on. So next meeting will be, first Thursday of every month. It'll be the first Thursday. I think that's the 2nd. Thank you, June 2nd, 6
One last
p.m.
thing.
this room. Yes.
You are either for the Constitution
Yes.
that was written by our forefathers.
Absolutely.
Or you're a communist. I'll end right there.
So I totally agree with you. That's kind of
And
my
that's where
take.
everything in my heart comes from.
Right.